My name is David Smith, and welcome to Correctional Officer Lifestyle. Hey folks, this is David Smith at Correctional Officer Lifestyle. This is the third video in my emergency preparedness series. I initially wasn't planning on doing a series on emergency preparedness, but I think that it is an important enough topic that I need to do a series on it. It's an important enough topic for me to have to do that, okay? The first video was about staff responding to an emergency at the institution. That we need you. We need you to show up during an emergency situation because that's when you want to have all hands on deck, okay? The second video was about what is an emergency situation and what is not an emergency situation within a correctional facility, and how veteran officers need to teach the rookie officers the difference and how to deal with both incidents and emergencies. This video is probably going to cause me a lot of controversy. It's probably going to cause a lot of people that know me personally from the job to get their feelings hurt. I just want to go on record as saying, if I hurt your feelings with this video, you have my apologies. But this video needs to be done. This topic needs to be addressed. It needs to be said. Okay? And that is the family emergency. I've actually made some notes. I have notes in front of me. The first thing we have to do when it comes to a family emergency is to define within your family what is considered an emergency and define what does not constitute an emergency. I gave the definitions of an incident and an emergency in the last video. To just briefly go over it, an incident is something that happens out of the ordinary. An emergency is something happening out of the ordinary that requires your immediate attention that could potentially have a catastrophic result. Okay? Taking a child to a doctor's appointment to address a low-grade fever, I would not consider that an emergency. Taking a child to the emergency room because they've fallen and fractured their leg and they're probably going to end up going under the knife to get their leg repaired, that I would consider an emergency. Okay? Having a family member broken down on the side of the road when there's other family members that they can call to help them, I don't necessarily consider that an emergency. Having a family member get in a bad car wreck and they're in an ambulance on their way to the hospital, that is definitely an emergency. Now, you'll notice a correlation in between those two. In both of the emergency situations, emergency actually figures into the title. As if you have to go to the emergency room or be transported by the emergency medical services, chances are high that you have an emergency, okay? You get in an argument with your spouse and you can't resolve it before you're about to walk out the door to go to work, I don't consider that an emergency. I just don't. So, what are we calling in sick for is another big one when it comes to family emergencies. Because I field calls all the time. I can't come to work today. I have a family emergency. They don't expound on what family emergency is. I don't necessarily pressure them into expounding what the emergency is, but I have to know what type of emergency it is, because I have to know what type of leave to recommend this person for when they call in. It's always going to be unscheduled, but is it going to be, family sick leave? Is it going to be sick leave? Is it going to be administrative leave for a death in the family? There's any number of different things that I need to know. And people generally tend to get a little bit upset when I start asking what's going on with the family emergency. And the people that are getting, and I'll go on ahead and say this, and this is part of the controversy of what I'm getting at. The people that have a legitimate family emergency don't mind giving you a detail or two. I got a family emergency. Man, I'm sorry to hear that. What's going on? Well, my uncle just died. He's my wife's favorite uncle. My wife's torn apart. I have to stay home. Hey, uncles are not covered under the bereavement leave, the administrative bereavement leave in the state of Florida. But I'm also not going to chastise an employee that is going to stay home and take care of a grieving wife when her favorite uncle has passed away. You know what I'm saying? That definitely could be considered a family emergency. But if I ask the person what's going on and they brush me off, they redirect me, they tell me it's none of my business, blah, 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 chances are pretty good I'm going to think this person is crying wolf. This person is using their family as a crutch to not come to work. That's what I'm going to think. I'm not saying that's what happens. That's what I'm going to think is happening. I've had people tell me when I ask them what's going on with the family emergency, the child's got a low-grade fever and they have to take it to the urgent care. At which point I ask, who is they? Me and my wife, or me and my husband. Okay. That's not an emergency. That's so not an emergency. In my opinion, that's not an emergency. One spouse can take that child to the doctor. Both parents don't need to be there. One parent can do it. My wife has taken my two boys to several appointments with urgent care by herself because I was at work. Maybe I come from a different generation. Maybe I'm just being unreasonable. Maybe I'm being a douchebag by saying what I'm saying. But that's my experience, and I'm relating that experience to you. Okay? If you are calling in sick to your job as a correctional officer and using your family's emergency, in quotes, emergency, as a crutch because you don't want to go to work, consider the boy that cried wolf, okay? He cried wolf over and over and over and over and over again, and when there actually was a wolf, nobody cared. Nobody came because he had cried wolf so many times, nobody came. Okay, well, one of two things is going to happen. You're either going to use this family emergency so often that when you actually have a family emergency, we're going to tend not to believe you're telling us the truth. We as in the leadership, okay? Number two, and I see this so often. You're going to call in with family emergency or family sickness or sickness so often that when you actually do have a family emergency, you're missing paychecks because you have no leave. You can't take any leave time because you don't have any to burn. You've exhausted all of your leave so that you can go frolic and have fun, and now that you need it, it's not there. I have seen that happen. I have seen senior staff wait until they get 12 hours on the book so they can call in for a day. I've seen that. That's not a speculation. That's something that I've actually seen. So the end result of this video, though, is to get you to define with your family, not with your supervisor, with your family, define what is an emergency and what is not an emergency. If you have to enact the emergency medical system or you're going to the emergency room, chances are high that's an actual emergency. I would view it as an actual emergency. Just throwing that out there, okay? Chances are high that it's an actual emergency if you have to enact one of those two entities, okay? Your family needs you. I'm not telling anybody to abandon their family. I am absolutely not saying that. I would never tell you to abandon your family to come to work. I am not saying that, okay? But I am going to go on ahead and say that military service members who by and large make less than we do in the Department of Corrections go overseas for up to a year. Up to a year. They're gone from their families for up to a year. The leadership in your department is asking you to come to work for a normal shift, 8, 10, or 12 hours, and maybe to stay for 16. You'll get to go home. During an emergency, we're asking you to come to work, stay extended hours on your day off so that we can get through the emergency. Then you'll get to go home. Those service members across the pond, they do not get to come home. They're deployed for a year. They don't come home. They stay there. They're deployed for a year. It doesn't matter if the child has a low-grade fever and you have to take it to the doctor. It doesn't matter if a family member is stalled on the side of the road and can't get the vehicle to start. They're not coming home for that. So I just want to put that in perspective, okay? Just want to put that in perspective. We're not asking for days. We're not asking for weeks. We're not asking for months or years. We're asking for hours. A few hours. That's what we're asking for. A few hours. Folks, get with your family. Let them know what you do for a living. Explain to them what you do for a living. Explain to them that you will often be called upon to work extended hours. You will often be called upon to work odd and unusual hours. You'll be called upon when there is an institutional emergency. Let them know you knew what you signed up for. Every one of you knew what you signed up for. You knew what you were signing the bottom line for. You knew what you were getting into. If you didn't, then please hit me in the comments. I'll let you know. Okay? You are a law enforcement officer. Anybody that tells you different, the only thing you and a regular police officer don't have is, in the state of Florida at least, we don't have arrest authority. Regular officers do. Regular police do. Okay? We don't have arrest authority. But within the confines of that institution, we maintain law and order. That is our job. By maintaining law and order, you are enforcing the laws of this nation, at the very least within the confines of that institution. That makes you a law enforcement officer, and if nothing else, it makes you a first responder. Okay? That's what you signed up for. But your family might not know that. Your family might not understand, and it would behoove you to sit down with your family and explain to them exactly what you do for a living. And tell them what could happen with the time that you're needed. Okay? Clearly define with them what is an emergency and what is not an emergency. And just get that understanding with your family. I think they deserve to know about your career choice and about what is going on with the extended hours and the time that you're supposed to be home that you're not while you're working. Okay? Folks, that's all I got for this video. This is David Smith at Correctional Officer Lifestyle. If you like what you see, please hit the like button. If you want to see more, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell for notifications. And if you want to leave me some feedback, and I'm almost positive I'm going to get some feedback off of this video, hit me up in the comments. I've also put my email address, my Instagram handle, and my Facebook at the front of this video. Make sure if you want to leave us feedback or contact or engage with me, you can use any of those methods. All right. Remember, love shouldn't hurt. There's no place for domestic violence in this world. We have no need for it. If you are in an abusive relationship, please find a way out of it. You know somebody in an abusive relationship, help them. If you know the abuser, say something to somebody. Worst thing you can do is nothing. And if you are the abuser, there's help for you too. First thing you've got to do is understand that you need it, admit that you need it, and ask for it. Folks, remember, I am my brother's keeper. I am my sister's keeper. Y'all be safe behind the fence. This is David Smith, Correctional Officer Lifestyle.